Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
You're watching a Fact TV presentation of the Town of Brookline Select Board
Today is
Meeting.
April 5th, 2023, and I would like to begin this evening's Select Board meeting. It is 6:36 p.m. Present in the room are Selectmen Bruce Mello, Stan Noga, and myself, Dot Maggio, Road Supervisor Mark Bill. Vanessa Ballou is here doing a trial run to see if she can, interested in staying as our recording clerk. That'd be great. And we have Joseph Dutton is also present this evening. At this time, are there any changes to the agenda?
Under my section, we've got 9 different small things to add.
But you can add them in your section.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
As long as it's not a vote.
No,
It's just,
no.
it's for information. You know what? I have a whole page of things to add.
Oh, great.
All right.
Good night.
Scheduled members of the public. There are no scheduled members of the public at this time that have called in. Unscheduled members of the public would be Mr. Dutton. Joseph, I do have to tell you with Robert's rules that if you would have let me know and put you on the agenda, you could talk about anything you wanted to, but as tonight, it has to be on an agenda item. So is there anything on the agenda item that you would like to discuss?
Well, I mean, I'm here tonight, as per what we had discussed previously. I didn't make the rescheduled meeting after the storm just because things were crazy for a while. I figured I'd just come to this meeting. So I don't know if, it requires a agenda change, or if it could just go into where did I just see this, the reorganization for appointments.
But you need to have that knowledge ahead of time
Yeah.
Okay.
for it to be.
Is that something you guys can just change the agenda, for?
Anything we vote on, I don't think we
If
can.
we're gonna vote to appoint, we can't.
Okay.
But we can change the agenda would be to move something up earlier that you saw on here that you came to discuss. We did have you on the agenda and then it had to be rescheduled because of the storm.
Yeah.
And we anticipated having you here to discuss, but I understand you couldn't come, so I will put you on the next agenda because I'm sure the select board would like to hear what your ideas are in the appointment.
Yeah, whatever is required, I suppose that's what, we need to do. I'm not sure if you've discussed it with Bruce and Stan. I mean, I know that it's silly with the laws because you can't discuss too many things.
No, the agenda item was what you had, I have the agenda here for the last meeting. Did you see it?
No, I didn't. I meant it. I know that you're not really allowed to have discussions amongst yourselves.
Right. And so since you weren't
Because
here,
of those laws, and so I've spoken with you, I'm not sure if you've spoken with Bruce or Stan.
I put in the agenda
Yeah.
what you talked about
Oh,
and
okay.
what your interests were and motivating younger people to get on the board.
Yeah,
And so if you would like me to repeat that on the scheduled members for the next meeting, we can certainly set time.
yeah.
I don't mean to
that's-
be officious, but for this guy.
Yeah.
How busy
are you?
Well, I'm wondering, when I saw you were on the agenda.
Yeah.
I went back and looked at the minutes of the years that you were on the select board previously. And I did it with 2 things in mind. How often did you attend, or how many times did you miss? And what kind of work did you offer to bring to the board? Now, I can send you some of the things that I, as a person on the board, have participated in and would expect you to be involved with in the future. And if that would save you time rather than hearing that next meeting without making any discussion or decisions now, just offering to be helpful, you take a look at it and decide, I don't want to be involved, or I don't mind doing this kind of work.
What I do.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
what I do is I assign and delegate people to do things.
Mhm.
And it, yeah, so I run it a little bit differently. It's, you know, where there's a weakness, I assign them to fill it for manpower. So, but yeah, there's a lot of things, and you're welcome. You'll find tonight's meeting very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, I mean, if there's nothing for me to do, since I'm not allowed to be on the agenda or really speak to anything.
But you could certainly stay and learn what we're doing, so you can see going forward, if you would continue, would like to be involved, this is the kind of information that we do. I would love for you to say.
Yeah, I'll certainly stay for part of it.
Okay, all right, I understand it's late and, yeah. All right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. At this time, I'd like to take a look at the minutes for the draft minutes from Saturday, March 18th, 2023. And to go over the draft minutes, so I'll make a motion to accept, and then we'll discuss a couple of edits I noticed. I'd like to make a motion to accept the draft minutes from Saturday, March 18th, 2023. May I have a second?
You got it.
Seconded by Bruce Mello. Now we go into discussion. I do want to add that there was no fact TV in the public realm on the 18th, so we could take that off the draft minutes.
Correct, you're right. Yeah.
But other than that, I saw no other change.
On page one?
Page one. Anybody on page one?
I know, page.
Anybody having
I have
items
the
on
letter, N,
page two?
I don't know, it's under N,
Page two, and appoint lister.
term expiring 20240.
Oh, just gonna delete the O. Oh,
And,
no pun intended.
Okay.
and under O, Michael is spelled wrong, I believe, Bill's.
Yes,
Oh, Mark, okay.
yeah,
And then there's something under other discussion when you get to that, and that's all.
Michael, Mark, I'm writing Mike now. Changed your name.
That's something I would do.
Anything else on page two? Any items on page three? I'll note that I put back onto tonight's agenda the purchase policy review, because while we did item LL3, while we did accept it, after we signed it, we realized it was the outdated policy. It didn't have
where were we?
on the bottom of page three. It was an outdated policy. It didn't have the electronic submission comment. And so it's again on the agenda tonight. But other than that, any items on page four?
Wherever other discussions are going.
I don't know what you're talking about, other discussion.
No, and that was something.
Oh, yeah, it's on page 5.
I'm sorry.
Okay, page four, nothing. Page 5, other discussion. Okay,
Stan's name isn't capitalized.
okay.
Where,
Can't have that.
where?
Under other
Capitalization.
discussion.
I bet
under
you had A through G.
Under A, your name is not capitalized. Stan. I think it's been the first one.
It's not, but
I don't see
I don't
my name on A, on
Other
page
discussion, I
5,
wrote A
on,
down.
under other discussion.
SN, Stan Noga.
Yeah, and then that's capital letters.
There was one that wasn't.
Okay, it's not that important then, right? We
No.
know who it is.
I think you know who it is.
Any items on page 6?
Oh, yes, I need a capital S on the
You
next to
found it?
last full line. Yeah,
Well, fish and iron. Huh?
you are, that's tremendous.
Any
That's
items
as
on
far
page
as it
6?
goes.
Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes from Saturday, March 18th, 2023 as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. New business. Open the bids for the consulting services for hazard mitigation plan, review, discuss, award project for the BRIC grant. We received 3 electronic submissions. One was from Wyndham Regional. One was from Threat Owl. And the third one was from Seam Solutions. Does anybody wish to start off in any way?
I would like to suggest we look at isolating it to two, the Steams and Wyndham Regional.
Okay.
Wyndham Regional has done this in the past for us at least 2 times. And I compared the hours that they allotted to the 9 categories of research that they did. And I went back and looked
You
at
know what? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
scenes, and they apparently used the same format for review and doing the same job.
Mhm.
And I compared the hours, and they're almost identical for one firm that's not done it at all, and one firm that's done it and just needs to update it.
They may have done it for other communities.
Who?
Seam.
Oh, they have.
They're
I'm not
married,
even
yeah.
addressing that.
Oh,
They have, both of them addressed, well, obviously Wyndham Regional has a lot more experience in terms of they doing more for us. But when I look at the credentials of the lady at Seams and look at the bill, there's a $450 difference only between the two. And if I didn't know we had any, if I excluded any thinking about the fact that we have sort of a relationship with Wyndham Regional, I'd pick the other party. I don't know if you looked at it in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was
So
looking
that's my
at,
comment.
I looked at the 3 as well, and I would prefer to discuss the Wyndham Regional because they have completed our last contract. They're very familiar. We do already have representatives that know the town and community and are helping on other projects. Does anybody have any comments about Fred Owl RFP response?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
I noted their experience. I also noted, I looked at how she did her cover letter.
Mhm.
There's a lot of lacking of experience and professionalism. And I don't know, I suspect that kind of approach, if you're trying to earn a job or get a job, and you're sending a letter like that, I can only imagine there would be some deficiencies in the work itself and the report. So
That's why you,
I
You
would
figure that
exclude
one
them,
out.
yeah, and they don't have anywhere near the experience that the other 2 have.
would anyone like to make a motion?
I would ask that Wyndham Regional reconsider their bid. And I offer that simply because I felt my gut, I feel sort of apparently like you do. I think we have a relationship there. What I can tell you is that when you went to indicate we no longer wish the sand and salt shed, I had requested several things from them and never got them. Such as when are we going to renew the contract with Wyndham Regional? What do you think the dollar amount's going to be for Wyndham Regional? And didn't get not any answers. There have been a few other instances, not only that particular topic, but other instances where I'd asked for assistance and it didn't happen, didn't come. So I don't know what to make of that.
Do you think they're overwhelmed?
I know they are. I know they are. They're understaffed, like we are, so I can be forgiving of that, but I guess what I'm hoping for is that if we mention to them that we have another bid from a completely new firm that is as qualified as they are, and there's just a $450 difference in cost, would they wish to review their bid? Now, if we can save this town $2,000 or $3,000, if they revise it down to $765, whatever.
This is a granted program.
I know the program is granted,
Okay.
but I guess what you're saying is the match that we have to come up with is of no relevance to the town. We can use it. I mean, we're basically in a treadmill anyway, as far as the state is concerned, from what I can see. I just can't see paying somebody for something that you're not getting in terms of, they can't be reconstructing the wheel again. They've already got it built.
Yeah, my concern about having them renegotiate their contract with us and bringing it down a couple of $100 is that we are already non-compliant because our hazard mitigation plan expired in January. So if we have a storm and we're not working on a plan, we are not qualified for FEMA.
I know your heart, I see where your heart is set. And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean enough to me to point out where I differ and where I feel I may be right or wrong.
I
You're right.
understand what you're saying.
So I'll go along with it. I'll go along with it. I'll not contest
Yeah,
it. or
I'm also
speak anything.
concerned that Barry is a bit foreign for people to come down here and everything would have to be remote. And I don't think we would have the ability to spread out our papers here.
They did include 2 visits,
2 visits,
you
yeah.
know, and still with the $300, $450 of that, we're still within the guidelines of the other 2. But the other bid from Wyndham Regional. But again, I hear you. I don't want to, it is not of any benefit to me personally in any major extent, other than it's this and possibly paying more than I should.
Right, we do not have to choose the lowest bid, but. I
And
think-
it's not, neither of these is a contract, it's the bid for a contract. And they're probably both gonna be, they're both indicating they're gonna start on the 15th of April, regardless of who we pick. So there's no hastening one way or the other, it seems.
Right.
But I'll go Wyndham Region, they're close.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion. I make a motion that we accept the bid for Wyndham Regional for the RFP for the hazard mitigation plan for the town of Brookline. And the total for the bid is $10,150. May I have a second?
Second,
Seconded by Mr. Noga. Any other discussion? I do understand what you were saying about Wyndham Regional falling short on a couple of areas. However, I am concerned about getting prompt and efficient
Yeah.
work done
We're
right away.
closer to that.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the bid for our hazard mitigation plan to Wyndham Regional, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you very much. I know there was a lot of reading to get through on those. All right, the next item is to review and revise the purchase policy. Again, I mentioned during the beginning of the meeting that the purchase policy that Guy gave us to sign at our first reorganization meeting did not include the electronic digital bids, which we now have a copy of the digital bid form.
Yeah.
In the meanwhile, I would like to propose that we discuss right now, changing the purchase policy to reflect those costs that are current. The purchase policy numbers were developed 12 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, and they had a $1,000 and a $7,500 tiering system. I would like to recommend that with today's prices, that those numbers go from $2,500 to $10,000.
I mean, 7,500 to
From
10.
7,500 to 10. Major purchases or those purchases of goods or services in an amount of $10,000 or more. And regular purchases are those purchases of goods or services in an amount of at least $2,500, but less than $10,000. I would like to change those items under Part 3 of purchase definitions. All right,
Good.
I'm gonna make a motion and then we can discuss it.
The other one would be an incidental purchase is less than 25.
25,
Okay.
correct.
500. So we changed from 1,000 to 2,500 and 75 to 10.
I'd like to make a motion that the purchase policy be amended where it says $7,500 to be changed to 10,000. And where it says $1,000 to be changed to 2,500 in order to reflect the current pricing system. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bruce. Let's discuss. Bruce, you have something you'd like to
I like the
compliment
whole
or
idea.
add or support?
I like the whole idea. I'm never too crazy about the purchase policy to do it. But I think it's a good idea.
Did you want a copy of it for your records?
I'm sure, yeah.
Does anyone else? need a
I have an
copy?
extra copy.
You
Yeah,
do?
yep.
I'd take it.
All right.
Yeah, only if you want to make.
Well, will you send it to me?
It's electronic. Let's send it to
All right.
electronic. And I'll send it. I'll print you out.
All right.
I'll give you my printed copy.
Yeah, or you can.
Oh, here you go.
All
Take mine.
those, so any other discussion? How do you feel about Stan?
I like it. I agree with Bruce. I agree with your numbers. I think it's great. It's about time and I'm happy to see it.
You signed the original one, did you know that? You, David Parker,
I suspect, yes, I did.
Yeah.
when the policy was first
Yeah,
developed.
I have that copy.
All right, if there's
So it
no,
was started by Doug Wellman. He was forward thinking, like he did a good job on the bond, and he had, decided to do that, and then when Doug left, David Parker took over. Yeah,
so, make a motion to, we're in discussion. Okay.
We're good.
All those in favor of amending the purchase policy numbers from major purchases of goods or services in the amount of 10,000 or more, and incidental purchases are those that are in the amount less than $2,500. May I have a second? Seconded by Bruce. You said we did this already. See, I did
Yeah,
that
It's
often.
okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor of the motion to amend the purchase policy signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The purchase policy has been amended. And when we change, Dan, could you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can you update on your computer, the 75 and the
Already,
one?
oh, okay, yep.
Yep.
I'll do it tomorrow and send it to everybody.
And send it out, and then, I'll print a hard copy and leave it in the office mailbox and ask us to come down and sign it after
Okay.
after I print out a hard copy.
Okay.
All right, this way it can be posted, in a timely fashion. Okay, purchase policy. All right. All right, the next item on here is sole source vendor list. I'm not sure
All right.
if you needed an extra copy or
I read
anything, okay. Okay, so we have a sole source vendor list, and I'm gonna make a motion and get a second, and then we'll discuss
Okay.
what I found. Okay, I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the sole source vendor list for the town of Brookline for vendors in good standing for the 2023-24 year as presented. May I have a second?
Second,
Seconded by Mr. Noga. Now we go into discussion. Bruce, you're the only one that's been here continuously for the past 10 years. I found on the website this form. And I was off the board for 2 years. It's a preferred vendor application. Do you recall that when David was in charge of the board?
Never seen it. The only thing I noticed is none of the painters were on that list, but everything else seemed to be complete. And I didn't think it was all that important to put the painters on the list because really I wanted to.
Right.
No, I never saw this.
Well, if there are,
This application,
that's an application I found on the website.
so somebody drew it up and gave it to whomever was gonna fill it out, but I've never seen
It's
maybe
not- it's
David.
cool. It's posted on the website, and
the town website.
the town website.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? So if there are preferred vendors that need to be added, this is a living document, so this can be amended,
Yep, I had
Which is
to,
stated in this.
right?
and not to get too deep into it, but with respect to the insurance, we've gotten that pretty much straightened out, if I remember correctly. Like if somebody's hired, have their insurance up there before we
I
start.
sent this to Judy Acampora because she will check all of the insurances, make sure everybody's up to date. And if it's not, if they're not compliant, they can't be hired. And she'll let us know, and then I will let that vendors know.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the sole source vendor list for the town of Brookline as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you very much.
May I make a motion related to that, a motion that the select board authorize Dot Maggio to sign the document in behalf of the entire select board.
So moved.
Any discussion?
You're powerful. then.
All in favor of letting Dot Maggio sign in behalf of the select board? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Here it is with that phraseology at the bottom
All
of
right.
page 2.
There you go.
You're so-
Thank you. April.
That's what my cats tell me. Probably at 5, they get fat.
Thank you. 4, 5, 2, 3. All right, and I will give this to the office. All right. Okay. Okay, storm sage damage review report for FEMA.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
there's a question?
Yes,
Related to that, we just got some money back from FEMA. I'm assuming we can't use that money for this project because it's allocated for money that we already, expenditures that was already done in July 21, correct?
Yes, based on what Dot said last meeting. It
yes,
has to
the
go that way.
FEMA money that came in is from 2021, and yes,
Okay, it can't be used for this. This is
this is
damage.
what?
I'm sorry, the storm
Storm
sage
sage
damage.
damage, number, okay, 5D,
Is this what just happened
yes,
recently?
yes,
So we cannot use that money for this. I got it.
correct,
Okay,
yes.
and we would refund that back if we got the money back from the,
I don't, if it goes to FEMA, we're not in FEMA because we don't have the hazard mitigation plan is not there, so.
okay.
Yeah, so right now, we're looking at $14,000 to $15,000 estimate for the cleanup for from the 4-day power outages with trees and road damage and such. So we have not opened up Putney Mountain Road. We don't know what trees are down there.
We're in there.
And we have not opened up Ellen Ware Road to see what damages are there. This is an estimate, it's not a bid, of course, but an estimate of the damages because it's gonna require some tree work. We may, and that's at $3,000 a day, if we have to get an arborist in, if it's near power lines and such. We haven't started to do major cleanup. Mark, we have enough in Mark's salary budget to cover his expenses and such, but I'm saying in addition to, we may have to go to some of the other vendors that we just got on sole source and have some help. We may need Mr. Bloom to do chipping or, those kinds of things.
Just gonna ask me, hey, have you looked at this pretty good, Mark? Both of them?
When you say both,
Both roads?
We
I
haven't
haven't,
looked
no,
at-
I haven't.
How did this-
There was still a snowbank, blocking and I haven't hiked.
Okay.
It would take hiking to, check it out.
Okay, that's okay.
I'm expecting by first part of next week, I should be able to get up there.
How did we,
Go ahead. Okay.
how did we get the numbers between 14 and 15?
Because Archie was out plowing and helping me cut a path,
Uh-huh.
I got his idea for just, what we saw on the Athens Road, Whitney Hill, Ellen Ware, what the parts that are plowed. He gave me his estimate and then I got to thinking if Putney Mountain was anywhere near as bad as, the Athens Road or if Ellen Ware was bad. So I put some thought into those roads as well as a lot of the sections up through that had severe damage. The power company came in and a lot of the ditches that we had
Just built.
just done and passed as good clean segments are now full of fine debris. There's tire ruts pushed in on them. But I see a squash culvert. So there's a lot of unforeseen stuff. And so I went with the idea it would reach more 14, 15,000. And what little I've cleaned up, it's so time consuming. There's areas where it's like manicured sections and you can't just push the brush over onto their lawn. So it needs to get removed. There are sections of just natural wooded that you can hide some of it, but a lot of it needs to be relocated and dealt with. So, therefore, it could exceed that number, but that was
That's what this is for.
just a guess on my part.
So with understanding that this is an unplanned overage expense that we did budget 2 years ago budget stabilization fund. And there will be, after the fourth quarter taxes, there'll be $20,000 in that account and 5,000 for each of the quarters. And so it's a concern that we need to discuss using the stabilization fund for this cleanup project if necessary. We haven't gotten to the point where we have hired out to third parties, but I mean, what,
Yeah,
what,
we had, volunteers on the first 2 days of the storm that came out to help get themselves in and out of town. But, yeah, whether, you know, there were so many broken trees that the tops broke and they're hanging in the drive section of the road that.
they need to be
You
pulled
need
down?
like a bucket truck to work on some of them.
Have an excavator.
Yeah, and
Oh,
actually.
geez, you know, that's very cool.
I carry it around.
Like that one we drove 4 years ago.
The other thing,
Yeah.
like, it was a good thing we didn't really have like ice out this year, because usually that ice, once it breaks free, will push anything in its path down until it jams again. And, on Hill Road, when a pine tree came down, the power company comes and what they do is put the power line back up and they're on to the next one. So they block them up and just drop the blocks. And a lot of it was going into waterways. And so if we were to get heavy rains with snow melt and those blocks float down to the next, say, a driveway culvert or crossroad culvert, those could be quite potentially destructive. So those were the ones I started with, and a lot of handwork here, but trees kept going over for, you know,
Any windy
4
day.
or 5 days after, and still, when I'm out cleaning, the other day I was on the Athens Road and all of a sudden I could see the wires just started bouncing and I thought, well, that's strange, it's breezy, but not like that. So when I went back this way, another half of a tree that had 2 tops, one broke during the storm and this one decided to go the other way. And it was a secondary line coming off the main line and it squished it. And it was in the travel portion, I had to ribbon it, but so it's still giving this storm.
How do you feel about using this if necessary? I can talk with, I put it in my notes to talk with the treasurer about keeping close tracks on the cost of this cleanup and, you know, what's outside of our budgetary line. Because we really cut back and tried to slim down the budget with all the FEMA expenses. So
Yeah.
we don't have really any cushion of this size.
That's why we did this.
So with your
It's gonna be up
permission,
Next year.
I'll discuss this with the treasurer and report back to you at the next meeting.
I agree.
A couple other roads that I didn't mention was, they're the class 4s, Bennett Road. Not sure, you know, that's one we have to make sure it's passable.
Yeah,
And then Greer Road,
right.
so there could be damage on those that we'll have to see when the time.
Well, we have up to 20 grand, I mean, we're not gonna get the remainder of the 5 grand to the last quarter. But it's there.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind going over tomorrow over the mountain, covered bridge in Dummerston. Going to Putney, come up the back way,
Come up around.
Holland Hill Road and see what kind of damage there is up there. I don't know if you've already done that or not.
No, I haven't, I've been
That would be helpful.
doing everything here, just cleaning up the ditches.
After next week, everything should be opening up because we're supposed to get 65 degrees tomorrow.
Well,
Into next week, 60s, and they're talking 70s after that.
yeah,
What weather channels, so take that with a parasol.
so once you get away from the roads with the fields, like up in the shaded valley section, there's still a lot of snow in the ditches and the debris is packed into the snowbank, so once that melts,
It's a project.
it's gonna be more cleanup. You know, the obvious stuff is getting cleaned up a little bit of time, but there's more that you can't see till everything is
Mm.
cleaned up. You know,
Um, one of the things that will come up during the reports and updates, we'll be discussing a policy, developing a policy for residents to, when wood falls on their property, that the wood belongs to the landowner. But Mark's gonna need to have the landowner clean that wood up sooner than later, and we're looking at a date of June so that we can get mowing done.
Yeah.
So I will be bringing, later on, I'll bring it up to you again, but that's a concern because it's a mess as far as the drive.
As a follow-up to my offer, isn't that end of the road, that section of roads in our town maintained by Putney?
Yeah. we
So
made
if
a
someone were to
deal.
be without power or having a problem with a tree, would they call Putney or would they call us?
Well, that's a good question.
Well, I'm
No
wondering
one's
if
told us.
we could, I know, that's what I'm getting to. So they must have called somebody if
Yeah.
they're lacking
I think. Putney
obstruction or
knows-
have an obstruction.
Yeah, I think Putney knows to, if they get a call, they're aware of corner of Brookline and they refer it over to us. We have gotten calls about the flood culvert that way,
Okay.
but we do have a deal with Putney. They're maintaining that corner of road in trade for the taxes of the.
Well, there's a section of
Section.
their property, their land that's
in-
on Putney Mountain, so
Yeah,
it may not be a fair trade, but it's a
Right.
trade of sorts.
right.
Taxes,
Yeah.
state taxes.
Yeah, well, we end up paying, an amount above that, but I'm
Yeah.
just wondering if a call over there. It might be appropriate simply to talk to their highway, you probably know them by first name basis.
Yeah.
And ask if there's been any issue that you need to be aware of.
Yeah,
I mean, they might take it so small that they didn't bother, but on the other hand, if you wanted to know.
yeah, there's two names that I know. The Bolster family has a year-round seasonal camp.
Mhm.
And out further on Bennett Road,
It's been
is Dr. Wu, owns a big piece of land and, he's got power out through the
Right,
hills and
right.
it's pretty isolated, so.
Yeah.
He had buried his lines though.
Did he
I
bury?
think he might have been
Oh,
smart,
okay.
like Johnny
Alright.
Swing did.
Yeah, that would be the way
Smart
to
and bury
go.
your lines.
Yep,
And you-
So the guy that had the fire at his house that we had money.
That's
couple quick-
on.
That's private.
That's off of Holland Hill Road.
right.
So you'd have most of your issue, because there's not many trees once you get, if I recall correctly, down Bennett Road, because it's like field ways in off of both sides of the road.
Yeah,
So your real concern is in the intersection of Purple Mountain Road,
Yeah.
Holland Hill Road, and Bennett Road.
right.
And I wonder, if either the town highway department a call or that fellow, can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't recall that name, but,
I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but
yeah,
just to make work easy for yourself.
sure.
and-
No,
and-
that would make sense. Phone calls a whole lot shorter than driving over there.
Mhm. Right,
Yep, yep.
you follow up on that? All right, next item on here is the state hazard mitigation plan update discussion. There's a flyer that was emailed and there's a copy of it on at your seat. It has 6 questions. I typed up the questions to make it a little bit easier. And, I'm going to compile a report from the town of Brookline based upon our 6 questions and basically looking at individuals or groups within the community that would be most harmed or have the most difficult time recovering from a national hazard event such as flooding, ice, wind, heat, wildfires. And I'm just going to give you a couple of my ideas. I said people who live on dirt roads, anyone who lives near the grassy brook, the daycare, the horse farm, the berry farm, tourism and agricultural entities would have a difficult time. We use the website email list, front porch forum, newspapers to notify people. Number 3 was what have you already done to prepare? And I put adding culverts, enlarging culverts, ditch stone to prevent erosion, keeping roads graded, adding gravel, adding wing walls to culvert headers and keeping the culverts maintained. What would you like to protect? What else would you like to protect your residents from natural resources? I would love for them to be improving the cell phone reception, have portable emergency frequency radios here in town, buy a piece of equipment that can remove debris, such as a wheeled excavator, having a dump truck. And what do you need to make this happen? I said money. And if
No.
funding is needed, what are the two biggest barriers to obtaining funding? And one is the twice a year, April and October loan schedule, but everybody may have your own. If you wouldn't mind, when you come to sign the purchase policy, if you could do, this was homework. If you could fill it out, and I can put together the report and send it to the.
You did a wonderful job. I hadn't filled it out, but as I was reading it this afternoon and saying, okay, what did I say there?
Yeah,
You basically said what I said.
I figured I have a good,
Very commonsensical.
yeah, on it, like I said, your father's place, is that river, walls would collapse and such, you would have, there'd be problems, you couldn't access the river and things of that sort. I know the horse farm, they need to have these accessibility. And I was just reading again, about the historic Bridge 19, the Green Iron Bridge, and how it was removed from the river when they had the flood in 27, and how difficult it was to get what we needed done. So that's what they were asking, what would happen if we had a building problem.
Ellen Ware Road is a
Ware
pretty
Road.
important piece of road there
Right.
during an emergency. Like there's times when a section of an accident happens on Route 30, and I know that they've sent traffic through.
Through
there
Delaware,
as
Winter,
well as up over
yeah.
Kirsch, Townsend Acre Road down.
So I said, any of the dirt roads would be at a disadvantage in an emergency.
And, after this heavy wet snow we got and everybody lost power,
Yeah.
the only contact is more or less cell phone and no service.
Right, so that was like
Pigeon.
cell phone services,
Yeah, if there was something in between to send
right,
the signal,
right.
that would be huge.
Okay, so that's what that
The
report.
27th flood was before Ball Mountain. wasn't
Yeah,
The
I'm
dams.
pretty sure.
Before the
yeah.
dams.
By like 60 years.
it? 60 years,
Not. By like 40 years.
Okay.
40 years, no,
The dams were put in after the war.
yeah, 40 years is only
Okay.
1981, 82, 3.
But they were put in the 50s.
Okay,
Okay, yeah,
okay, just curious, okay.
you were like 20 then, right? All right. I'm gonna move us along to item number F.
Just go in the minutes.
Item F. I have here discuss establishing an energy committee in Brookline and participate in the municipal energy resilience grant program. Stan, myself, I think Leanne was on that Zoom, and then Dan Schroeder, the resident that lives up on Athens Road, was there. It was a very informative one. Basically, there's three parts to it. The first part is called a community capacity mini grant, which has which is $4,000, which can be used to organize a committee, to do outreach, to educate about energy efficiency and the planning of programs for the town of Brookline. The second part of the plan is an application for energy assessments and audits for the town-owned buildings, which would then make recommendations for weatherizations, EV, battery storage, cost, blower tests, and qualify us for loans for both the state and federal government. And the final part of the program is up to an implementation funding of up to $500,000 for Brookline's town-owned buildings. And so I thought that doing a little outreach, Daniel said he was interested in, I can probably find Bruce, I'm interested in, yes.
I wanted
no?
to make a suggestion.
So, yes.
No, finish what you're
I
saying.
was gonna say, so my request is to get permission to do an outreach to see who would be interested in working on this MERG program, because it's a big deal. And it's a 1 or 2 year commitment, I think, but it could make a huge difference for this town. We're looking at improving the quality of energy at the school, improving this
Here,
building
here.
with lighting. You
Here
could
in the
do an
church.
automatic generator for this building. You can do a lot of things in the church. 20% of the grant can be used for ADA accessibility.
There you go.
And that Brookline Meeting House needs to have an ADA accessible bathroom eventually. So these are all things I think owning 3 municipal buildings, we're in good shape to have. All right, Bruce?
After we discussed it, I've increasingly warmed up on the whole idea. And thinking that, one person keeps coming into my mind is Samara, because she's got a lot of familiarity with grants. I don't know if she would be, Samara's work, I don't know if she would do it, but I think she would.
She'd be a good
incredible
outreach.
plus.
Now, I will have
That's
to,
one.
but Wyndham Regional Commission has received their own grant funding to assist the towns. They've already gotten money to help us.
Yeah.
So we can rely quite
Is
heavily
that
on. Wyndham
related to
Regional.
172?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay,
but Samara is a good idea.
but what I'm pointing towards is there's a lot of things coming down the pike in a lot of different avenues. And a person experienced in grants has done this before, especially when you got voluminous amount of stuff coming at you. That's the kind of person would work well on the board. It's a little too much for the select board to be able to nosedive and get into all that plus run a town. So I think I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm really warming up to your idea. And that was one person I was thinking about doing. And maybe we should consider a representative from the school. That's up in the air. I was thinking about speaking to Erin about it, see where she was at about it. But
The daycare or the school?
take care. And just, it will be like a representative of the school because we've had discussions about energy improvements in that building for the last 2 years. Quite extensively, as you know.
Okay.
I think it'd be a good idea if they wanted to have a representative, it could be anybody over there was really interested in stepping out. It's better off if it's a local person in town, which Erin is, because she lives right down the street.
Okay. So
But
you're okay with doing, okay, Stan?
I'm okay with doing the program. The thing that I think I just want to clarify is it's one building we do in town.
No, 3.
no,
You can have priorities, you prioritize, but you can have as many buildings, you don't have to just pick one.
I thought Margot indicated that you submit one. It's unlikely you'll get 2, but she wasn't going to discourage us from submitting, or any of the towns from submitting a
That's
second.
not what I heard,
Okay.
but you know what, I'm gonna call her up,
if she'll
Yeah.
vote.
Yeah. but,
Okay,
but I heard that, they're looking at 1, 2, 3. 3 might be a little tough, but 20% of the grant can be used for ADA. If we just get ADA out of the grant for that building,
Yeah,
that would be
sure, yeah, that's-
fabulous.
I read the regulation or statute. And I hope it's 3, but I
Is this
think
on
you
one?
said 1.
Is this in 172?
Yeah.
I'll have to reread it, I read it twice. Also,
I don't think Stan was finished.
I'm sorry.
Well, I guess, whichever route, if it's only 1, then we're gonna narrow it down to 1, but if you get 2, but we are gonna have to define or designate which building or buildings, whatever the scenario turns out to be, we want to have done. So I've been focusing on just 1, frankly, and it's a tough decision.
Yeah, well, there's also the thing in there about the energy analysis. I'm gonna reread 172 again before I go off on it, because it's been at least 6 weeks since I looked at it.
But she did say, if I can interrupt again, you have to have ADA compliance. The bathroom has to be ADA and the
Yes.
ramp has to be ADA.
Or.
Now,
or-
she did say that
Does it have to be in
that led me to
process?
believe we might be able to use some of the grant funds to put those in.
20%, yeah.
But it has to be in process in order, I believe, in process.
It's part of the plan.
It could be, I don't know if it's in
I'm gonna
process
read-
or as a result of.
I'm gonna have to reread
Yeah,
it.
when you go towards the planning in section A, where we get $4,000 with the planning of what you're going to do, that is where we would decide what building, floral, and what needs to be addressed. But what I'm looking at right now is I will contact Margot just to check with that and
Okay.
ask you all to review over Act 172.
Okay,
I will put a reach out in the electronic forms that I can, and I will call Samara and ask her. I will call Dan and ask him, and I will call Erin and ask her if she would be looking.
first let me ask Aaron, that's okay with you.
Okay, well then wait till I put out the PR thing then first.
Okay,
okay?
you
So
tell me,
just so
let me
you-
know.
Okay,
I will mention to her so that I
okay,
know she can be very easily nudged into doing it, but I just want to make sure she's got the heart into it and the
Yeah.
desire and all the expertise. Maybe, I don't know.
because it's all, like I said, it can be, solar, battery, Tesla batteries in the buildings, all sorts of different things for energy efficiency.
I can reread it. I like stuff and maybe we should re-up that again for the 19th, where you,
Oh, yeah, well,
Oh, yeah,
it's probably gonna be showing up on,
well, I'm
it's gonna be
saying,
showing up,
re-review 172 on the 19th or something like that. And we can
okay?
rehash it
And
out.
the MERG, it's what it's called, Municipal Energy Resilience Grant. So when you hear me say MERG,
I'll just
that's
think of
all the
it.
stuff that comes out, it all says MERG, so.
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
would-
And what was that, we have to by the end of the month for the lighting? That's
I
different.
sent you something
I
I
have that.
saw on Front Porch Forum, and that is just to let you know that that was something else. I have a copy of it here. I'll give it to you. I have your name on it.
Okay.
Um,
I
but,
really don't want to drop the ball on that because there's no money there. Well,
okay,
hold
so
on.
I sent that to
Okay.
you with
Yeah, I
information.
have that.
Excuse me?
I'm going to,
Stan doesn't understand.
I'm gonna,
No, I have a question.
go, yes, sir.
Is there, I can't remember if there's a time late for submission of an application for F on the agenda? For 5F? I wanna,
It's open now, but we need to act, I would say by the next
I
meeting.
thought it was April 15th or April 30th?
No,
No? Okay.
no.
For
I'm
what?
gonna call Margot anyway and double check on it.
Okay.
About
I
that.
want to make sure
We
that,
have another.
that in the month April thing.
The 19th, yeah. All right, if that's the case, I'll share whatever information I get, from Wyndham Regional. Share. Okay. I should slow down, I'm going too fast, it's only 7:30.
That's okay, that's okay.
All right.
I'm sure Vanessa would appreciate it, and I'm sure the
Oh,
board.
yes.
too.
Oh, yeah. So
Okay.
no way.
We have a
There you
couple
go.
of items on old business from the reorganization that were at that point were tabled, but now we have ability to actually do the appointment. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. David Jones as an assistant treasurer for the town of Brookline. May I have a second?
Second.
Whatever.
Seconded by Stan Noga. Any discussion? David will work pro bono and be available to sign checks in an emergency
Sweet.
situation when the treasurer is not available. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of appointing David Jones as the assistant treasurer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes, thank you. Next one. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Don Demain as the alternate for the DV fiber representative for the town of Brookline. May I have a second? Seconded by Bruce Mello. Discussion. Don was our representative for the past 2 years with the CUD and DV fiber. And he said that his workload has been heavy, so he would like to be the alternate. I'll have to advertise again for a main person, but I did speak with Steve and John about this as well. So, okay, so, all those in favor of appointing Donald Demain as the alternate for the DV fiber representative CUD signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. There's three here twice. It's, didn't catch that on me, Bruce. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Bruce Mello as the Wyndham Regional Council alternate commissioners as an alternate representative. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Stan Noga. Discussion, would you accept the appointment?
Yeah, I guess. So. I don't think it's gonna be it.
Fabulous. All right, any other discussion?
Put your name on that.
Fill that out.
That's the form that you need to fill out, sign, put your info on, and so
Okay,
we can submit it to them,
okay,
to let them know who our contacts are. So you'd want to go the second
so.
individual
right-
right after, yeah.
Okay, so,
And I don't know if the board chair needs to sign at the bottom or not. You might want to take a look.
okay.
Does anyone need to sign?
Data select board action
Yeah.
signature.
There you go.
All right, so David Jones, assistant treasurer, Donald, alternate, Bruce, alternate,
I'm gonna get going.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Joseph. I will put you on the agenda so that we can make motions and discuss and hear you.
Yeah,
Apologize for any miscommunication you might have done.
yeah, no problem.
All
I'll
right.
send some emails out and I'll get in touch with you soon.
Okay,
Okay.
I
fabulous.
can talk to everybody.
All right, thank you,
For
Seth.
now, at least.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you later.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's good.
All right. And then I'll sign this.
I will scan that in and then send it along to the appropriate party.
April.
Can't see.
2023.
Hey, money, I'll think about it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
Having
welcome.
that handy.
Sure,
All
thank
right,
you.
number 4, list of
Okay.
appointed committee positions that are vacant. I wanted to pass this out to you. We tabled some.
Oh, my hat.
Thank you.
It's under
Oh, yeah, okay.
4.
Those four, four.
And I can send any of this. If you want to overwhelm me before you
Oh,
show up.
Well, I'm sure she wanted to add up or nominate volunteer for junior positions, right?
So the recording clerk is still open. Planning commissioners, there are 2 positions open. We don't have any in-town listers. And Helen is willing to train anybody. The Wyndham Regional Commission has now been filled.
Well, that's me,
Okay.
right?
The next one is animal control. I will put it on the agenda for the next meeting. I guess I'll have to do that again. I don't know.
You still live?
I've already done 2 dogs this week.
This week?
This week.
How often a week? What's your, is there a weekly average or a monthly average?
I have a notebook, just whatever they fall and yeah. Some of them are easy, some are not so easy. These 2 are easy. Both dogs
I
are
wouldn't
returned to
mind
the owner.
helping out on that if, you know.
If I go to town, you can be, you can
Just-
just back up.
If you have a chance to, when you have free time, just,
Okay,
you know, give me a nudge or a call and
All
just
right.
let me know about it.
very good. We don't have a representative for Sevka yet. We still need the DV fiber regular representative. We have number 11. We have an alternate. And we have 2 select positions open. And what I didn't put on here was green up day organizer
Mhm.
and a 911 coordinator. I'll put myself up for the 911 coordinator since I'm already doing stuff like that. But the green up day, selectmen, and some of these others, I'm gonna have to put out online again.
The person that did green up the last 2 years is leaving town.
I know, I saw he was looking for boxes to pack stuff in. So I'm a little concerned about that since it's already April.
Yeah.
And green
Yeah.
up day would be
And
May
April.
6th.
Tommy Brooks has always been,
Tom Brooks,
yeah, he's been doing it since he was a kid, and I think he would be the next person in line to.
I think he
He does it.
sacrificed his own time to go around and pick stuff up in the bags
always-
after everyone else had done their work last
Yeah.
year.
He
Uh-huh.
would be a person to ask.
okay,
I mean, I'm sure he's gonna be there anyway, but he may step in.
I have to get his phone number and see if I can actually reach him and so, because I don't,
Mhm.
all right, so, all right, Tommy Brooks. That would be good. All right, so again, these are the current vacancies I wanted you to be aware of, and we'll try to fill. I know Joseph came tonight because she was interested in being appointed to the select board, but I do have to follow the Robert's rules as far
We
as
did what we're
Of
supposed to
course.
do.
public and unscheduled and scheduled members. Okay. Moving on, with that page. Okay. All right, ARPA appropriations, please note, item 6B. It's been revised since the last meeting because we forgot the highway supervisor salary being under budgeted, so $3,361. So I want,
It's accurate.
so now I just revised this, since this is a public legal document. We've had local funding of $55,484.51. We had county funding of $102,953.61. And we had a total of $158,438.12. The foundation work, the heat pumps, the appropriation for the CUD, supervisor salary leaves $105,127.12 that has not been obligated. However, we did appropriate verbally for the 23-24 fiscal year, the difference in the town clerk's raise from 21.75 to 23, and the difference in the treasurer's raise for $20 an hour to 23. Those numbers will not be available until June of 2024. Because we don't know how many hours he's gonna work and how much the raise is gonna cost the town for either the treasurer or the town clerk.
So we're automatically taking the money out of the ARPA money anyway. So what you're saying,
It's gonna, it's been documented
right?
that these were,
Right.
that's where the
That's
raises
what
are
we
gonna come
got, sure.
from, correct? So we did not put it into the 2023-2024 budget. We're gonna take it from ARPA
Right,
And
next year.
next year.
We'll have to put it in the budget.
Yeah, we have to, no, we're not, and then the year after we put it in the
Fiscal
budget,
year 25.
Yes.
That's what I-
25, 26,
Where are we at?
And then-
Right,
Right.
24, 25, right.
correct. And that will just be
So
absorbed.
we just adjusted the budget accordingly. Then.
Yes.
Yep, got it. Yep, that's what I thought.
Okay, and the other purchase would be for fiscal year 23-24 is to replace the CPUs used by the town clerk, listers, treasurers as needed. So that would be something that would happen after July. Okay,
That's coming out of ARPA too, isn't it?
this is the ARPA pay, this is all ARPA right
Yeah.
there.
So why would it have to come after July?
Because that's when,
It doesn't make any difference. It should, he's right. I
you
think
could
you're
do it you could do it
Right.
anytime. I just not gonna have
So-
time right now
Well,
to be shopping.
Yeah, well, he's got to tell us what he's interested in, and then we go from there.
That's another whole nother question.
Yeah, we'll worry about that down the
We
road.
need to talk more about the whole.
Okay, we'll worry about that later.
So say we don't, it's not, we've got enough right now, not to worry about
No.
replacing that.
It's not on the high priority.
Right. But I wanted to put it I wanted to document
Good
the
idea.
finances accurately,
Glad you did that.
so that there's any questions that. So, okay, okay, I do wanted to mention here that, I have to work with Melissa because the ARPA funds we have to do a self-audit of what we actually spent. And so I'm also gonna work with Melissa to make sure that she does properly transfer the $15,000 from the ARPA account into the Brookline Meeting House account, and that the $5,000 check is cut to the DV fiber,
Okay.
and that the salary was, the deficit was paid in the previous year for this.
Oh, for this,
Yes.
that's just right.
So I'm gonna
Difference.
talk to Melissa about
good.
those.
She's aware of the
those items.
numbers.
She's aware of it, and she's gonna have to help me do the audit for the NEU reporting steps.
Okay,
It's good,
so Are we confusing Vanessa at this point with all?
Go back, I'll go back through the.
Well,
Okay.
yeah,
Don't hesitate
We'll get
to
into
talk to
it.
anyone of us, whoever's
We'll go
available.
into a pretty detailed.
that's
The only
okay.
other thing I would bring up in that,
Yeah.
and in that, I believe it's April 30th, that the
Yes.
ARPA report is due for the
That's why I
year,
saw
so.
that.
Yes, I'm saying
So-
ARPA report, that's
So
why I
that
did
needs,
this.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's why I'm gonna sit with,
all this being done beforehand is gonna.
make sure that we're all on the same page before I say, Melissa, send this check, do this, do that, let's fill out the portal. So,
The only thing I think you're gonna need to be wary of is, they break things down, I believe, to those things that have actually been dispersed. And those things that you're intending on doing, you focused on it, but you haven't yet done it. And then I guess that's gonna be a bigger category for us in terms of dollar amounts.
Well, the heat pumps were spent, we're gonna
Right.
cut the check for the CUD, the highway supervisor should be spent, the only thing is to the foundation work.
Yeah, like I said, it's those two categories. I don't
Yeah.
need to go through the specifics. If
Okay.
you do, that's good, but I already know what we spent, what we haven't spent.
That's good, all right,
But we have in this list, things that we intend to do,
these are
that we haven't done. and all that.
correct, and they won't have.
If
to
we
be
haven't
bought.
done these pay things yet, then that's in
That's
the
nothing.
to-do category in the report.
That's what you do, that's why, yep. Next fiscal year, okay. Reports and updates. All right. Mr. Bill, Highway Supervisor, you gave us a little heads up on the storm cleanup. You can talk about the tree warden situation and,
Okay. Sure, so, since our last meeting, received a call from a person on Putney Mountain Road who wished to, remove some trees along the roadside. And so there's a process with the tree warden that, haven't had to deal with this yet as the tree warden, but the person is required to have some paperwork. Had to have an on-site meeting and determine which trees are in the right of way. And then we marked them, and I called on Dot as the chairperson because in the tree warden statute, that person was necessary as well as the road commissioner. And we went on site to determine, the process that needs to take place. And there's a notice that needs to go out in 3 places, intent to cut. If anybody wishes to stop, they can interfere, but
How much in advance of the work date does that notice need to go out?
there's a 15-day.
15 days?
Yeah. So we have followed through the process, and we also found out that there was going to be a crane involved, and so we recommended the crane company wait a little while till we give them the notice, so the road's firm enough to hold the crane tree company. And he also is going to obtain an overweight permit, being a heavy piece of machinery. We determined that because it's a steep bank in the right of way into the ditch, the stumps will be left alone so that it'll stabilize the bank after the trees are removed. So the person was unaware of all the do's and don'ts and was very happy to work with us as we were with them. So that's in the process.
I did share with you and I made up a public notice based upon the recommendations. Basically it says intent to cut roadside trees in the town of Brookline's right of way. The location is the east side of Putney Mountain Road, just after the road turns to dirt, before the road bends to the right. That's how we describe things in town. Landowner Jay Swing has requested permission to remove 3 mature oak trees within the town's right of way. Trees are flagged with blue ribbon tape and 15 days notice before permission. So I'm gonna, with the board's permission, I'll sign this, and then the road commissioner and the tree warden will put it on the 3 bulletin boards.
3 oak trees?
3 big oak trees.
I have room for it.
I think that he wants his own wood. He wants his own wood.
Oh, I
That's
bet
why
he does.
he's paying for the cutting down.
Got an outdoor wood furnace.
He does?
Yeah.
He's going to?
Yeah.
Ah.
Yes.
So are these trees that are about to come down, or just that from a theoretical or idealistic standpoint, he'd like to see them down?
Yes, he
Yes, the-
intentionally would like to remove to create a view for the house that he owns above it.
However, I will point out that that one giant oak tree is right, it's a high, very mature, large canopy oak tree, right over the power line. And one branch comes down, that whole street, that whole area would come down. So, and the other tree is leaning into the road.
And GMP wouldn't take it down.
So it's, yeah.
No,
Well, it's a healthy tree and they take
Yeah.
what they have
there
to
you go.
and, you know,
Nothing's touching
they
it yet.
have- They have so much tree work, they don't go looking, so.
I'll bet they do.
But, they will start at the top with a crane and cut it off and lower
Right.
down. So that it's, they're certified to work over power lines.
Yeah, I do tops.
Yes.
So before we move on, do I have the select board permission to provide signature to the writer? I think I sent you all a copy of the public notice.
I don't recall
Yeah,
getting it.
Oh.
but-
I think that's fine.
Okay, well,
Yes.
all right, I'm gonna sign 4 copies and.
So should I motion to allow God to sign
Yeah.
the, whatever that thing is?
Thank, okay, Dan's motion,
Uh,
seconded by Bruce, any discussion?
no,
I'll sign the 4 copies, I'm gonna give them to you, you're gonna have to bring them
I'll take
to
them around.
Archie. And you sign it and then
Yeah.
put them in the 3 spots, which are out here, Whitney Hill.
And
And if you wanna put one on a tree, you can
Yeah.
do that as well.
Okay,
so Vanessa doesn't have to call us. Is, everybody in favor of authorizing Dot to, sign the public notice about the tree removal in behalf of the select board, say aye.
All right. Sometimes we get some. We try to get out of here before 11. All right, let me sign this.
Okay.
All right, and then go ahead, Mark, you can continue.
okay, so. We also have had a few road signs stolen
Oh, wonderful.
around the south end of town. There seems to be a general area where the same signs keep being removed over and over. So I replaced with signs that I had. I ended up making a new street sign out of an old road sign, flipped it over, painted it, and put reflective lettering, and then I
Yeah.
placed it up high on a tree with a ladder, so it can't be reached without a ladder on that one there. So, however, some other street signs are still missing. I did recover a couple that were laying along the riverbank, going out of town. I happened to catch a glimpse of a sign and I grabbed that one. So I'm still working on, whoever took them must have had a toolbox because the signs are tightened into place with an Allen wrench.
Mhm.
Not everybody carries an Allen wrench, so
Right.
if somebody
Hmm.
checked them out previous and then,
Came back with the tool.
came back with the right tool and took the sign.
Nice.
And the spray painting, I tried to repair and I coated them with a thin layer of grease so that if they spray them again, I can just
Wipe it off.
Wipe it off. and
She's
reapply.
greasing herself.
We're gonna try it.
Whoa, nobody's gonna know it either.
I mean,
You should use
I haven't done all of them.
You should use that, that new undercoating stuff.
That's what I did.
No, I think it's
Lanolin, it's lanolin.
Yes, it's
Made from,
That's right, oh, it's right, it is.
yeah, it's got a real
Paraffin.
sticky
It's
film.
like
in
a
it.
paraffin.
Yeah. it's,
Okay, good for you.
So that's the sign. I also have started, I went around and talked to Dot first about it, but I've taken orange spray paint, maybe you noticed, I, squared up the potholes and, measured, and I'm making a list. I ran out of paint. I thought there was only like 8 to 10, but it's more like 20
Really?
areas of potholing and the cold patch doesn't compress in and stick the way hot patch sticks. And the theory of it is getting it thick enough. So we're gonna talk about it, but we thought putting it out for bid repairs, having them grind a square bigger than the shape of the pothole, at least 3 inches, possibly 4. And have somebody come in and go right through town and patch them all up. I think that would buy us a few years of, it's something that would stick. So I have 9 more areas that I want to paint. And then at the same time, we have the 20 by 80 foot Putney Mountain section that could possibly be a part of getting the right person in here to tape it all. I'm also looking to see, I haven't identified it yet, but looking to identify where we can use cracked ceiling to preserve some of our older pavement. The roads seem to be drying up rather nicely this spring here. Every year is different, and I think the early rains and the early thaws kept the roads from freezing deeply this winter. And even though we had some midwinter thaws, we didn't have deep mud. It gradually, froze at night, but came above freezing in the day, and it slowly worked itself out, and the roads are rather well for this time of year.
Good, better than my driveway.
There was just a little wet surface muck, but nothing.
Serious,
Nothing serious.
nothing was caving away.
Right,
The road
yeah,
wasn't-
I mean, we did put down stone over those areas that did appear to be looking like they were gonna be bad, and that definitely helped. The area of the new culvert site on the Athens Road appeared to really,
Make a difference.
yeah, we didn't have any part of a.
Really? All that work you did, really?
Last year, we
Yeah.
got so many complaints about
Uh-huh.
Athens Road collapsing that really has made it great.
Yeah.
Good. It's nice job to
Great.
keep it up that way. Take a look.
Worth the money, the effort.
Okay.
So I'm planning to take the grader out here, depending on what the rains do the next couple of days. It may turn into Monday or Tuesday, but, they're definitely in the rough stage where, the surface is bumpy, but we'll attend to that as we can get there. Let's see. The other thing I had gotten, and I need to probably ask Stan, we need to send a letter of intent for the grant aid thing before May
Yes.
5th
Yes,
to be eligible for.
yeah,
So that was something we just wanted to make sure we,
okay, and the next, when you're done, let me know and I'll address that.
okay, all right. And I think that's everything that I had on my list for tonight.
Is that,
Okay.
is what you're talking about with Stan, the Russ Guion thing from Barry, Vermont Agency
No,
Municipal Grant and Aid Program? Is that what you're talking about?
So there's 2 issues about that we need to go over tonight. One is of which, Mark just mentioned, and then there's another.
Well, the letter.
Still grants and aid, but it's the one that's from last year that needs to be done this year.
Yeah.
We need to decide which road segment we're gonna utilize for that repair.
right,
And as we've talked about in other meetings, the sooner the better, because we don't wanna end up in the situation we were last year where Archie and his crew were trying to get it done on that completion date.
right,
And we didn't have to take advantage of another 5-day extension, which they're willing to give us, but we don't need to put people under that kind of pressure if we can time it right. That's
yeah,
just to be fair to everybody, just who would make that decision a little earlier. But
right,
that's another thing, and we need to decide that.
yeah, so that grant will help with our road segment.
Yes.
Upgrade, and Putney Mountain, we have that long section of stone line ditch that needs to get done for FEMA's purpose. But, that alone will bring our road segments up considerably by getting that accomplished. So that is, that's gonna help us out to be qualifying.
Is that part of the work that is gonna apply to having all highways in town with ditches that are appropriate below a certain incline,
Yep,
have that stone? That's gonna bring us into compliance with that?
yep.
And is that part of the set road segment ROI program that we're talking about, or is it a separate item?
No, I believe they all tie together.
Okay,
I mean, to start with, it's the finish up of repairs for FEMA. It's required by us
Okay.
to get our money back from FEMA. And then it's the segment, road erosion, grant, segment improvements that comply with the state. And then I believe thirdly, it's to have everything in the state standard for the state of Vermont, standards. New culverts, they should be all new culverts up there except for the stone ones, and stone line ditches, there should be a crown road.
all right.
I think that's gonna bring us up to compliance for all that.
Okay, so you two know, you guys are together.
Yeah, I would think I guess the question that I would have on the topic that you're looking at is bringing, well, are you referring to bringing stuff into compliance? Or are you talking about the grant that we need to decide this year whether we want to submit an application? Those are two
Yeah,
issues.
well,
The letter that Dot pulled out, I believe, is saying it's this time of year again, send us an application. I remember last
just
year,
an intent.
I laughingly said, do I need to ask you whether we need more money? And do you want me to just go ahead and submit the application? And you said, yeah, go ahead and do it. So that, if we do it again this year, is just a simple thing. It's me printing out the app, and I believe I filled it out. I don't think I needed any other signatures.
Right,
Because we had already decided that we were gonna do it.
right,
And I can do the same thing this year.
right. It's the letter of intent for the
There you
next
go.
upcoming
Yeah.
round of grants and aids for funding fiscal year 24. And the construction deadline will most likely be in the fall of 2024.
Correct.
And take
September
advantage
30th.
of it, correct. And yes, and as Mark was saying, it's grass and stone lines, drainage ditches, turnouts, cross
Yeah.
culverts and stuff. So Jeff Nugent, from Wyndham Regional reissued the letter from Ross Gouin, Gouin, from the AOT.
Yeah.
And just, so everybody got it twice. So you have it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've actually put it on my hard drive,
All right.
so that I wouldn't
can't
lose
figure
track of
out-
it.
I got hard.
I don't want to
paper.
be dealing with books like that.
I have a Chromebook and it's just not able to store that kind of stuff.
Doesn't have the memory.
It doesn't have, this has the memory. So, well, we're still in the, reports for the highway supervisor. I would like permission or for one of the May meetings to have an RFP for the following. Finish the paving on Putney Mountain Road, which is the 80-foot by 20-foot section that was damaged, and it's FEMA will pay for 90% of it. Finishing the list of 20 potholes in town that need to be hot patched. Similar to how they fixed the bridge by Amadon's Corner, where they
Milled it down.
milled it down and then put in a nice smooth patch. So that, and I would like for the select board to allow the RFP to also include paving the recycling lot, which is that one area. I don't have the measurements of it. You can do the measurements and then, but I think that would make an improvement there. So it would be Putney Mountain, the patch work and the recycling. What do you think about that? We're not gonna vote on it, but-
We should have been talking about that at the time of setting the budget. To bring it up now,
We're
I don't think
excited.
is anything I'm excited about.
Be great to
Those
do.
potholes that were marked with the fluorescent orange, I think they pretty much have been there a while. If we've got extra money that we got nothing to do with,
We put 45,000 in our paving budget. You know that, and FEMA's gonna pay for the Putney Mountain repairs, except for except for.
if and when that happens.
Okay. Does that, that FEMA work, does that complete? Well, no, it doesn't. We still got more to do,
Yeah,
a lot more to do.
I gave you, yes.
Yeah.
We have to finish, we're upsizing it, an 18-inch culvert to 24, we're putting in 430 feet of ditch stone on left and right side on Mullen
I
Hill.
think Doc gave me the report dated 11/21/22 from FEMA and the town's discussion, right? That's what you gave me. I don't think you've got it. So that you might hearing this some of sort of the second or
That's okay.
third time, off the cuff. So,
Plus, we still have a ways to go before we actually complete with the FEMA work.
We have to finish
July
this summer,
20.
because we have to finish this year, because we got an extension that.
We have to have it done this year. Then we start.
I just need to see that we got the money. If you're gonna look, if you can look me in the face and say, we got the money, it's not an issue, I'd say go for it.
The
We're not
money
gonna
for
get the money
repair,
till we get it
the crap, the
The crack stuff,
recycling area and the potholes would come out of the budget, our paving fund.
Let me see if I understand something here.
Okay, okay.
We put it in.
All right.
Yeah,
You're talking two separate entities, if I understand this correctly. You're talking about taking money out of the budget, obviously, already, excuse me, set aside to fix the holes, et cetera, et cetera.
the paving.
But the FEMA work is entirely different.
But I am gonna put on the same RFP.
Oh,
because
that's
we-
okay.
Yeah, we split
I'm
it
just
last
trying,
time.
I'm
and we
just trying to
screwed up.
understand, I'm just trying to understand, which I don't know, what needs to be done before we've got a very small amount of money just presently from FEMA, a little trickle. We had most.
11,000.
Something like that. So we're still short, well over $100,000 from them.
We haven't
And-
spent it all yet. Yes, that's correct.
But my point is, we're not gonna get almost all of that until we get the work done. And it's not complete, how much, I'm trying to get an idea, I didn't see that report that you talked about. That's left, that we have to do this year before we start getting the flood of money. If we ever see it.
Can I simplify this for everybody, including the
Good.
person taking the notes? It is.
Okay.
It sounds to me like there,
They got it on.
the three things that you mentioned doing, including paving where the recycling bins are, is something that we put basically $35,000 into our budget every single year. 45, okay.
Yeah.
So that is coming out of that 45.
Correct.
Okay, and there's no major projects
That
a
was
year or two into the future that we're gonna say, oh my God, why did we do that in 2023, 24?
for doing these pothole saves and crack sealing.
Buys us time.
You extend the longevity of the roads, and
Okay.
that's what I wanted to say, is, okay, this is,
But the.
In that case, I'm alarmed over nothing.
But the dumpsters are throwing, basically.
yeah,
Retreatment, line budget will be, patching potholes, I would.
right,
Okay.
that would be patching, this is the rest of the, FEMA stuff that we have to do, the Bennett Road, culvert 13, you can
Okay.
take a look at. That's the rest of the FEMA
Okay.
stuff that still has yet to be
Okay.
done.
Okay,
While we're talking about FEMA, you had made a mention earlier this year that you're gonna try to get stuff going and done in terms of RFPs, et cetera, by May.
I want to get the RFP approved by the board, and so we can advertise in May for the Putney Mountain FEMA project. But in order to make it worthwhile for them to come pave a little section, if we get our recycling area and do those potholes too, it would vastly improve, I think, the quality of the roads. I mean, you can skip the recycling area, but
Okay.
it's.
Well, no, I have no problem with that. And now that I know, now it's clear in my mind. There is sufficient money. I just wondering where the money is coming from.
Right.
I
right.
did not think of the very simplest thing, which is we allot $45,000 a year to do that.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, I was thinking in terms of, since we were talking about Putney Road and Holland Hill,
Yeah.
for some reason, those two memories were crossing my
I know.
mind and I was starting to panic here. So
Yeah.
thanks for taking the time to
And
explain.
I do think that most paving will occur anyway after July, which is another 2 years.
yeah, so, you know, if we could get that RFP out early, somebody like, the O'Brien brothers, they do a lot of small driveways and parking lots, small stuff, they don't do major roads. And so somebody like them might jump that up.
Or it's all state.
If it was out early.
Well, here we go again.
Now, O'Brien's also have, they're the ones that patched over by Howard's barn when that got so bad.
Uh-huh.
And, they came in and ground it out and did a patch, and they did a super job, I thought. And they have a tow behind, piece of machinery that heats up the ground pavement, keeps it hot and, makes the product on site. So somebody like them would be ideal for them to come in with a little Bobcat, dig out the 2 foot by 2 foot to the right depth,
Yep.
small roller, and they can go right along. And I believe Basin Brothers, offers similar. So if we
Sounds
could,
good.
you know, like Dot said, the FEMA part, the upper Putney Mountain, 80 feet by 20 feet is paid for by FEMA when we do get paid. And then
That's not a big
the
section.
20 sections of potholes
That's not a big section.
by
No, it's
time
not.
before our next, match with major paving around.
Now, remember that when they paved that spot last year and they overpaved it, they went beyond the point they told us, or they were instructed to stop.
Yeah.
So did you measure that, or are you going by the 80 by 20
No.
feet from last year?
I went back up and remeasured.
You
to see
did?
what was left to be done.
Okay.
And we're gonna flag, and there will be an on-site inspection, pre-bid inspection required.
Good.
And we're gonna be very official on
Okay.
I know where
this,
she's going
Yeah.
with this.
okay?
Yeah, well,
So we,
hopefully we won't get hired that far, but
Yeah, I think that.
That was a
It's
rip-off.
almost like too small of a job, I
Yeah.
think, for them.
yeah.
so with your permission, then I'd like
Yeah.
to consider in May to look at this RFP. The other question is, which would be totally different, is the crack ceiling. Are you looking at a mile and a half? You go do some
I think the
measuring.
last time we had it done,
A
I
mile.
believe it was like $3,000 for a
Right.
mile.
Correct. Something
It's
like that,
probably-
3,500.
Like everything else, I'm sure the price.
When did we do it,
is,
2 years ago? Was it last year we did it?
Yeah, yeah, it was two years. We haven't done.
What
it
about
for-
sign, what about lines too?
It's
I
being
mean,
done by the
the
state,
state does
right?
lines on Grassy Brook Road. We don't have to do Hill Road. It's not required. And if we're saving money, I would save it on Hill Road.
I won't argue, I won't
I
argue.
thought they were gonna do all class 2 road.
Uh,
Mill Hill Road is a class 2, isn't it? The one
No.
on Grassy Brook?
3, isn't it?
just our main road.
Just
through
Grassy
town.
Brook.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alright,
Hill Road's a 3, isn't it?
Yeah,
okay.
so anyway, yeah, I think if the price is risen like everything else, maybe a half a mile would be sufficient, but
To
I,
try to keep the budget in.
yeah, I'll determine, this next week
Okay.
where it needs it the most, and I talked about it with Archie, and he said, you know, areas that are separated more than 3/4 of an inch, it really doesn't, benefit, and if it's too small of a hairline, it doesn't get into it, so it's,
So evaluate
Look
that,
for the
because that would
right
be
area.
totally separate from the
yeah, to
paving.
make it worthwhile.
I
Yeah,
do have a
that,
walking wheel if you wanna use that,
Yeah.
just let me know.
yeah, that's definitely a handy tool, and, that may be, very helpful. I'll determine and then come see you and see if
Sure, yeah,
I can,
I'll go for
that.
coffee.
yeah.
All right, very good.
I get
No
$1.60 for a freaking donut, Dunkin' Donuts.
I have two.
All right, we're gonna move on to item B, highway grants. Mr. Noga, I know you wanted to share about the TA 60 meeting you had.
Oh, before I get into that on the agenda, if I could just follow up and finish up
Oh,
on the second GIA grants and aid from AOT.
Okay.
Did do you feel, and I don't know, maybe you've had a chance to talk with Archie about it, that it would be advantageous for the three of us to sit and go over the map?
I did not, but I do like the
Would that
idea.
be the optimum?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, it would,
Uh,
yeah.
do you want to send an email to all of us? Or do you want me to send an email to all of you? And however you want, or Archie send out an email when it's convenient for him, or, and I'll just try to do the best I
If you
can.
don't mind throwing us the first email to
Yeah,
put it in his ear, and I will be seeing him soon, and I'll talk with him, and we'll get back to you to set up a date. to do
sounds
that.
good.
Cause I do feel that Archie being the road commissioner and the fact that he's about town and he's aware of a lot of stuff, that would be a
Yeah.
good to have him on there.
Certainly. Yeah, it's a very appropriate thought.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I
I'll
like
try to
that.
do that this week,
Okay.
before the end of the week, so
Sure.
that, we'll have the weekend to think about it, and we can set something up and do that, because it's simply a matter of telling Jeff Nugent, whoever, of the state, we don't have to tell Jeff anymore,
Yeah,
unless we want to,
yep,
that, this is what we want to do, or what we feel we should do.
yeah,
The other thing I noticed was on the letter that came out, there was an email from Jeff this week.
yeah,
Did you notice the last paragraph said that they no longer do work, that $1,500 request that we made to them a couple, 3 months ago? That they no longer help out with doing that reporting. So it kind of means we're on our own
yeah.
in terms of setting those things up.
I know they were trying to get it to,
Oh, it's only allowed to assist towns through a supportive work request. If you have not requested technical assistance, leave them know, so that's what you mean.
That's what I mean, yeah, and I've already sent it, they've not acknowledged it, they've never, they haven't responded. I can email him tomorrow and say, do you or don't you want to help us out on that? And I don't really, personally, I think we could do it ourselves, but
Yeah.
if you want to
yeah,
honor
well,
him for past work done, we can
Yeah,
just go along and do it.
well, we can, with your knowledge, I think we have a good chance of,
Saving money.
yeah, but.
Yeah, I mean, it is
I know that-
$1,500 coming off of us.
Yeah, I know that he's always there, he would answer any question you have,
Yeah, okay,
if you feel comfortable.
yeah, I do,
I'd be glad to
so,
do my
okay,
part.
all right, then we can do that amongst ourselves, and I won't have
Okay,
to,
I do have some ideas ahead of schedule,
Great.
some places of thought.
excellent. Thank you.
We can work that all out together.
Okay, as you know, well, most of you know, you don't know. A week and a half, 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting with a young lady from AOT,
Agency of Transportation.
which is Agency of AOT, Agency of Transportation, District 2 Representative, Megan Brunk, B-R-U-N-K. And she helped the people around the table, most of us that were there at that meeting along with Archie. And we learned a little bit about what we, to facilitate the filing of a report called TA-60. And she took all the information that she needed, the budget material, and she got input and defined for the people attending what qualified in the winter expense and what qualified as a summer expense, and even gave us the option of simply not even dividing the budget into those two categories and simply saying this is our total. And then she takes it and divides it on a 45-55 split to put into the two categories to determine if there is an emergency in our town and there is a need for flood mitigation. It'll indicate by making those kinds of calculations and using those numbers, how much money the town will be able to receive in a grant to put toward reparations of any kind of damage. I'm probably gonna have to look at the tape, the movie of this for that, but we did meet. She did leave and indicate that she would send us, Mark, Dot, myself, Archie, the results of her paperwork and calculations and the finished TA-60 form for the town to sign. And to date, she has not done that. I have not received it, and I haven't heard from anybody else that they have received it. And I think it's an end of April thing that in terms of having it filed and completed and everything that she's under the gun for, that we are too. So we did have that meeting, and then all indications are, it's just a matter of us at this point, having done what we did, waiting for her to provide the form for signature. And I'm not sure whether the instructions that she sent us, I'm sure will let us know whether we file it with her or whether we file it directly online through AOT somewhere, which is generally what seems to be happening more and more.
All the little portals.
Yeah, yeah. So, let's see. So that is the one topic that is on this agenda, but I'm gonna add that, another topic, and if you'd like, I will copy this before you leave, so you'll have it as to what I referenced. Or I can just title it, MRGP work. MRGP work. It's a plan where, the town is certifying that, as a part of getting grants for the maintenance and upkeep of our roads, under a watershed, program, where, we maintain culverts and road surfaces and roads. It's a kind of an AOT program. And they made some significant changes, as was pointed out at the town meeting. And they switched the filing date and the payment date to April 1st of 2023. And we're supposed to submit on that date, April 1st, which has already passed us by a few days, the annual report and the annual operating fee.
Can I
And
interrupt you and let you know?
it's already been done.
Yes,
That's my next note statement.
Okay,
I
there
already
you go.
knew that.
okay.
Is this the copy of the actual filing?
This is the copy, but Melissa called me back and said, we don't need your signature, meaning me. She
Because
said
it's
that
automated?
He was able to sign for it
Fantastic.
electronically.
Thank you. I took her email and I put it in the appropriate directory in the hard drive. So I have evidence that it was paid and she took care of it.
Yes.
So we're up to date with and current with our MRGP program and all the fees and filings.
Thank goodness.
So we're gonna say yes to that. We just talked about selecting a road segment to be updated. Let's see, we've already done the Wyndham Regional reps, and good to have Bruce along. There's another grant program that is dovetailed in with the program that Dot was talking about earlier. It's a BRIC grant that deals with emergency flood stuff of sorts. And the BRIC grant is a grant to pay for, or is a grant toward payment of completing our required hazard mitigation plan, which we're in arrears on in terms of it. We don't have a current. So we got the grant, and everything is so far so good, but we do have a report that needs to be filed by the end of this month, if not the 15th of this month. And it requires this mitigation program quarterly report to be executed. And I need to know the contact. I'm assuming it's you, but I didn't want to put your name in here without that.
This is, go ahead.
You can look at it if you like. It asks some very basic questions as to the status.
So we can say yes to
For the
hire
first one, if we do
consultant.
something tonight, if we vote to, we voted, we're gonna vote on, we voted for Wyndham Regional, correct?
Correct, as the hired
Okay,
consultant.
so the first block, we can check yes.
Right.
The other blocks, I'm not so sure we can check at all at this time, period, but we need to do that report by the end of this month. So that needs to be filled out, which is why I brought it with me. I can fill it out now, I can fill it out tomorrow morning. But that has to be there by August, April, and I think it's the 15th.
Right, okay. So have you hired a consultant? Yes. Who did you hire to assist, to be determined? Have you begun your public engagement process? No. Is your draft plan in development? No,
Everything from there down is no.
no. And do you plan to complete the work? Yes, before 2024. Okay. All right, I'll leave it for you to check off.
Okay.
And you want me to put my name up here?
Yes, and your
Okay.
contact, I don't know if they want your phone number or email address. So that's a requirement that deals with hazard mitigation of sorts on roads that needs to be done, so I can say that we're doing tonight.
Okay. Thank you for,
You're welcome.
I have never seen that. Well, of course, it's the.
Well, it's the first one,
First
because,
one.
but when I was reading the program and logging it in and so forth, I made a mental note to myself that, you know, there are these quarterly reports that are necessary, and when I looked through the paperwork yesterday, just to make sure that we're gonna be on track, that's what I found, and that's what needs to be done. So that takes care of that. We'll do that within 24 hours. The other thing that I sent out to select board members, I don't think, Mark, I sent you to it because the grants log, so that everyone has an idea of the current update of what grants are outstanding. There are currently 4 and possibly a 5th. On this listing is a grant that supposedly we got the 21st of July in 2022, which was listed as for the Brookline Meeting House in the amount of $3,500. And I went back and looked through the minutes of June, July, and August of last year the other day, and I can't find any
It's a
discussion.
donation,
So it's a donation and not a grant.
right?
Okay, so we'll delete that off.
The donation
I'll
was
redo that.
from David Shupp.
Thank you, Don.
For the windows.
You're not putting any
That's right.
attention, huh?
What's that?
You're not putting any attention.
So I had emailed Leanne, now I'll tell her, you know, she doesn't need to answer that question.
Okay. And the $500, they just got, they got $500 for the.
It's on this list,
Building assessment.
Who's that from?
Historic preservation grant, 23 historic preservation grant from the Vermont, from VDHP, Vermont Department of Historic Preservation.
Really?
And on May 24th,
And that's 15,000.
they're gonna, right, that's for the building foundation.
Right.
And on May 24th, I sent out to you all. The meeting house is gonna have, remember John Lewandowski?
Yes,
There's another guy that's gonna do the
Yeah.
next level,
Good.
John something. or
that
other.
Coco
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
On March
from
24th?
from Brattleboro. And he's the one that's gonna do it for $500.
Right,
We have a $500 grant. No, he's gonna do it for $1,000. We have a $500 grant and it's a 50-50 grant. So at least
Meeting
that's
house.
my understanding of it. And that's what the letter said. It's a Robert Sinsabaugh grant
Right.
that was
We've gotten one before.
approved and we awarded on the 8th of March of this year.
We've gotten one in the past.
Yes, we have. Yeah, that's how Lewandowski
Years
was
ago.
paid for originally way back when. So this is up to date and I will delete the one that was $3,500 now that I know it shouldn't even be on this and resend it out tomorrow so that you all will have the most recent grant status for the
thank
town
you
of
for doing
Brookline.
it.
Yeah,
You're welcome. You're welcome. You had asked me to, at the last select board meeting, to have prepared for this meeting, a contract for the vendor who's gonna do the annex foundation work. When I looked at the contract that, I should say, the paperwork, because they haven't sent a contract to us. The paperwork that's required by the grantor. There's a number of things that need to happen. And the last one that needs to happen is June 29th of 2023. So I saw Leanne yesterday out front and asked her where she was on it. They're pretty much along the way. Most of the stuff is done. She says they're waiting for the insurance certificate from the vendor. And when they have that, we'll be able to send that along to the historic division. And after that, the contract will come. The vendor cannot do anything on that property until after the contract has been received by us, signed by us, and sent back. So I decided with everything else that I've been doing on the back, I
Gotcha.
put it off. Hopefully I'll have it completed and sent to you before the next meeting.
Sent back and confirmed.
Well, I can't, this is a contract to the town. There's two contracts in this. There's the vendor contract, and there's a contract that we have with
The grant.
the vendor. All right, now, I did note that there are requirements for the state contract that are not requirements in our contract. So when I do the contract this time around, I'm probably gonna make some general statement that our conditions, and I'll look to see if there's any that are completely in contrast to or contradictory to make sure they're all in sync. And that what we do dovetails together where we're not covered, they want us covered. I build that into it and or reference the original document from the
Reference
state.
that document, because then everybody's covered.
Right.
Excellent.
Oh,
So that's another reason why I didn't want to do it for tonight, because I wanted to go back. There's like pages 7, 8, and 9 in the 14, 15 page contract that has some of this crap in it. And I wanted to be right, not wrong.
And there's no rush. I know that the vendor is not going to be doing anything until after the summer anyway.
Okay. And he's got till December of 2024 to do the job.
But he's gonna do it this
He's
year.
gonna do it
Yeah.
this fall, probably.
Yeah.
So, okay, I've talked about that. Now, there's something else that I don't know if, who's gotten it. But there's some emails that came through in the last 2 weeks from the, Vermont and Department of Environmental Conservation, and it has to do with water tests at the school. You
I
seen
just
that?
gave that to Bruce, yes.
Okay, and they sent out some other they sent out more than one item, but there are these other things, and it looks like the only thing they need done annually is the E. coli test, which we've done quarterly, and I think we have to do that quarterly. But when you look at this page 1 of 1 here on this other stuff,
We've got a waiver. If you don't,
Right.
we've been clean for so long.
yeah, but did you read that waiver? It says two different things,
Right.
and I don't know which one is correct. I want to ask, somebody ought to ask her, which
Well,
one do you mean?
The thing is, it's Marie Sawyer.
Yeah,
Now, it was CC to Nancy Burke. So Nancy Burke knows all about, this house has to do with the water protection in the school.
I know what it's for. Yeah.
I'll just tell him
But
that stuff.
yeah.
I'm a little confused with one respect because of that, when you started right here, it says the water system's next source protection plan update was due January 18th.
Do you remember that? When every few years, and
No.
you told me
Yes,
when
This is the same thing.
source protection
I
plan,
don't believe it's the same thing.
source protection plan is
Is that?
a document where they have to look at,
Is that when I had them come down?
yes,
It's the
yes,
same one?
yes.
Okay.
Every couple of years you have to do a
I
source
thought it was
protection
due
plan.
next year. I'll look at my paperwork.
Yeah, we talked about
I
this before,
have
but
it.
you're right, you're on the right track.
I have it. Okay, so that's now a zero.
That's a source protection.
So I
plan.
thought this was something different to what we did.
Yeah,
It only took like a half an hour. She came down, checked everything.
they write it up for you, yes.
So,
Okay.
so I didn't want to steal your thunder, because this is your job.
That's not my
But
thunder.
what I did was when I read this, just not,
No,
Paul
you're
had
good.
looking over his
You're good,
shoulder.
you're good.
It's this does say waiver of determination. Then it goes on to say, the division has made the following determinations regarding your application. First paragraph,
Uh-huh.
synthetic organic chemicals,
Yep, I'm reading.
waiver approved for a 3-year compliance period, 10/1/20 to 10/1/23. So we're almost all the way through that period. And the
Correct.
next sentence says, no SOC sampling is required during the 3-year period. But you look at the very next paragraph, and what does it say? It says,
Well,
a
no,
volatile organic chemicals waiver was denied.
because of a vulnerability.
So I don't know which one they're talking, which one is true, which one applies, the one that's approved, the one that's
Nancy, first, I'm
denied.
gonna have to call Nancy, because she must have made this submitted this,
But see,
although it's under Guy's name.
Well, they sent it to the town and he sent
Yeah.
it to the appropriate party.
You see, that of course, Marie Sawyer. I think maybe you made a point. I think maybe the way to handle this, be go back, check my paperwork first.
Check your paperwork,
And then call Nancy
yeah,
and then see what she has to say. And if I still have issues, then I call this Marie Sawyer.
correct.
She's a different person than I dealt with last time. They were really great. I mean, she came down half an hour later, we were done, have a nice day.
Right.
Done, see you in 3 years. I thought it was, we had another year left. I am not certain of that. I have to.
No, because I'm back on the board 2 years and it was during my gap. So this is the
Okay.
time is up.
Okay, I
Time's
put it
up.
out of my mind.
And then there's three of these chemicals further down on the sheet that need to only be tested once in 9 years. There's another one, iron and manganese,
That I don't have.
that only needs to be tested
What?
one part once per 3 years. Nitrate needs to be done once every
So
year.
that's different from this one. I need.
Yeah,
those.
so that, so,
Can I get a copy of all?
I will see, oh,
That's
you
good.
got an email, right? I'll email it to you.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
So I guess all I'm saying is, I couldn't make sense, heads or tails out of it, and
Well,
I
you
thought
wanna
you all
find-
ought to be aware of it.
I didn't see that. I saw
Do
this.
you want a copy of this as well for your record?
I would think Nancy Burke's test would include all of those.
Yeah,
But-
it costs a lot of money for the test.
That's the thing.
For every single
We
thing.
don't.
Each one is a
We
different
haven't-
charge.
We haven't failed for E. coli, for bad
For
water
anything.
since 2017.
So
So I've been like,
that water
okay, we're
system is
good.
working.
And not according to the
Yeah.
state.
Okay. So I've
Yeah,
done,
but
I've
we
dealt with
looked
that
at
issue.
properly.
And then there's one other thing. I don't know, Gary Lavordna sent me a piece or an advisement
Okay.
of there being classes for people who deal with emergency management issues in the town. And there are classes that are being given down in Massachusetts. I want to say Danvers, Mass. I unfortunately did not. I left it on my desk in my haste to be here before everyone else got here, except for Dot. I don't have it, but if you'd like, I don't know if you sent it to just me or everybody.
Gary, I don't think Gary sent it to me.
Okay, well, if you'd like it, and I'd be happy to send it along to everybody, just so you can take a look at it. I don't know how, for a small town, you can sit back and contact whoever you need to get advice. I'm not sure we need to, I don't know if there's a charge for the classes or not, but I don't know if we need to go to attend something formal to learn how to disseminate whatever.
You know, you and I took one of the courses that's necessary, the 301 or something.
Was that the one up in Grafton?
Yes,
Okay,
so you and I are both certified to sign,
Okay.
but it's similar to that, I think.
okay, it probably is, probably is.
You get to wear badges.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Just
Okay.
above Dorothy.
So, I guess I'm finished talking about whatever I needed to talk about, and there you have it. Thank you.
Alright, Fabuloso. Okay, next is the building commissioner, Mr. Mello.
Okay, so we've taken care of the contract. the
Right.
pipeline. Generators, I'm assuming you're pointing to the discussion you and I had about over there.
The MERG is a program that could incorporate covering the cost of that here and there. I wouldn't worry about putting any generator updates at this time.
No,
I
we,
wouldn't
we
do
gotta,
that.
we gotta see money first.
Right, exactly.
Stan's not familiar with this, but I'm gonna update Stan so he knows. No, I don't believe he knows. I don't think he's in the loop about
What?
this. Stephanie wrote me an email stating that she wanted us to consider putting a generator in the school.
Yes, I saw that.
Okay, let's go
Yeah,
further.
yeah.
Okay, I thought you hadn't seen it.
No,
Okay.
you were very thorough. You sent it along, and I'm
Okay,
glad you did, and I thanked you for sending it in.
sorry.
Sorry, thank you, thank you.
Okay, let me see. There's nothing to talk about the updated building. I gotta fix some tiles. You'll see it on part of the accounts payable. I had to buy a Dremel tool bit to fix the tiles in the entranceway because I used the wrong thin set.
Okay.
I tried to save money by using thin set that I had, and it turned out to be thin set that was for countertops. Really stupid, but it's okay. Other stuff is very minimal. Sooner or later, Mark and I, once he's not busy, lots of rock. We're gonna burn that burn pile out back and get the wood out of there.
Good.
Let's see what else.
Can you burn that playground thing behind it?
Yeah,
We can put a chain to it.
could separate everything.
hold-
We can't get out with a chain, it's too heavy.
Yeah.
We could just-
I was gonna take it down. I promised the select board 4 years ago, and
Yeah.
But
I volunteered, but I just haven't.
Then,
Well, if the town gets a piece of machinery, that would be very
What do you know?
Another time,
All that.
Another word for the piece of machinery.
Vanessa, we need a piece of equipment really bad, so I can't.
It's a real sore subject right now, but,
Mm,
okay. And what else? Oh, we probably should take the covers off the beautiful covers that you made for the.
Oh,
for the heat
yeah.
pumps.
And put them under, inside,
Put them in the boiler room. Don't put them out.
yeah,
If you get a chance, don't care.
Yeah.
Put them in the boiler room.
we could label.
All
them.
kinds of things happen out in that big room.
Yeah,
is that really necessary? I mean,
Yeah.
if we had a strong storm with a constant stream of a downpour where heavy water's coming on the roof and someone wanted to be cooling or running it,
Yeah,
would
maybe
that-
we should.
have you thought of that aspect of things? at all?
Well, Tim Hart never mentioned that we needed it in the first place. The only
Well,
problem I
look what
had,
he did, he put it under the dropping snow, so
well, that's what I was
You know.
gonna say, like,
people
and
make
I
mistakes.
blame myself for that. Idiot Bruce, I should have realized it, but you know how things happen. I mean, Jesus.
So cut out
God.
but if you look online though, they all, there's so many different kinds of little roofs you can
Yeah.
design, build, or.
But you did a beautiful job. with it.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad.
Well, actually, we could leave the ones out back.
Well, how about the
Yeah,
one that caused the engine that made noise? I would leave
That's the one
something,
back.
that's the one in the front.
Oh,
What's
Right?
another?
I would leave them up.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I didn't put on the two in the back is,
The bicorp.
membrane or something.
I have that.
So it doesn't rot the wood.
See, I didn't give you more of that, did I? No.
I only had a small amount.
I had more than
I feel-
You should
all right,
just-
good.
And
No
just
problem.
make that more permanent than
That's easy-
temporary. so
that's
that
easy
we
stuff.
Okay. sure.
Okay.
That's
Just
it.
maintenance.
And when I was in the dealership district getting Patty's wonderful car, so to spend an hour and a half reading that manual. I'm gonna get over there and see what I can do to figure out those heat pumps, because I'm not happy with. I think it's a classic case of just not knowing the equipment.
I noticed you've been
Well.
issuing statements about this was said at this and this was said at this.
Mhm.
Are they not gathering or understanding that they're letting the heat pumps take over, or the idea was to save them oil, right? Oil.
Well, you know how that is. It's not their money, it's their boss's money. But that's not fair. I don't like.
Yeah, okay.
Let
I'll
me try it.
retract the
Let me try and take my words before I spew them out. They're trying. Stephanie's great. She's trying, but they're busy. I mean, they deal with kids and everything else. But I try to.
wait till they have to deal with it.
They think they got it bad now. Well, they got me. That's worse.
I'm just kidding.
But I'm trying to get them. I'm trying to get it organized in several ways. I'll make it simple. I thought it was a good suggestion for them to check their heat pumps first thing in the morning, check them when you go home. Just check the settings. I don't know if they're doing that. When I went in there last weekend, I noticed one on, different setting in the basement than the other. It was on, it was 65 degrees in the room, that kind of stuff. And especially now where we're getting into spring where they're not gonna be needed as much until it gets cold. I mean, until it gets hot out and you need air conditioning. Especially when you got a room with 65 degrees in gym in the basement and you got the heater coming on a Saturday. Not a good thing. It's not necessary. The way Scott Bova actually educated me on the phone about this. And it's the beginning of an education for me to understand how these perform. You haven't, this is 6 of them. And what he basically said to me, I don't know if I'm being redundant here, is you do not want the heat pumps going like crazy overnight, like under 25, 20 degrees out, because it just makes the turnstile electricity go freaking crazy. So in as much as we have 2 heating systems, it made a lot of sense to me, and overnight, that they should be set lower than the gas as a set point, that you don't want to go below that, because you don't want the temperature to be too low, so when they come in, it takes too long for the room to warm up. In saying that, I'm trying to work it out so the timers will turn on the heat pumps an hour or 2 hours before they get in there in the morning. So now you're getting down to that 60, let's say 60 degrees for the gas set point. Bam, it turns to be 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and the heat pumps come on. That's the way I'm trying to gauge it and gear it, because that was the impression, and Scott Bova was quite specific that people with heat pumps really spending a lot of money on electricity, when they're letting those things run below 20 degrees out because it becomes very inefficient. That was his words. I said, okay. So in as much as we got two heating systems, coordination seemed to be a really good idea and timing. But I'm right now trying to figure out how the timers work. So that you can preset them like you would a thermostat. So you could set a timer, you come on in the morning, go in the afternoon. And you could set up to 4 settings a day, I believe. I was just saying at the beginning.
This is on heat pumps.
Heat pumps. I spent an hour and a half yesterday reading that book. So it has very basic pages and 47 pages. I'm right getting to the part before the lady killed and got me to take Pat's car home. And I was right getting to the point of the part that I wanted to really learn on how to set those up. And it just came to that
You'll
point.
do, you'll get it.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, I need to read it again. And I need to sit in front of the heat pumps.
Right.
And I already got an arrangement with Stephanie. We'll take one room. She said, have at it, don't worry about it. So we'll go, don't worry about it. And play with it until I get it to where I know what we're doing. And why I'm going to all this bother is and I'll put an end to it, is because it's our building.
And we're gonna need to have we want the building to be energy efficient.
Absolutely. And this is they know, and they know that they saved a lot of money last year, they said, Olivia said. And I've had nothing, no problems, not all winter, which is 180-degree opposite last year. So we're in the right direction. So a little bit more effort and, you know me, I'm like, that dog that grabs onto
You keep going at it.
Are they gonna forward you their bills, show you
that's the next stage.
And those keep because they'll be useful for the energy grant.
Okay, but what I'm gonna get with GMP's great, because if you get a bill, you won't get GMP bills, they come at the end, they come at very late at the very end of the month, right around the 27th, and you pay it up to whenever I use it. And it always gives you the previous year's consumption. So when I have the end of this April, I'll have 2 years worth of energy expenditure by that building. That's one. The second thing, which I had to request from Olivia, I probably can get it from Coda directly, but I can go to Olivia. All the bills from September to the end of April, on gas. This way, because being familiar with the previous consumption, I can see what we said. And that will tell me, and that will give us history going forward. That'll help us with the grant. And in terms, I wanted to get those bills down to well below 10 grand. I don't know if I'm there yet, but I don't know what the consumption of gas has been at this point, but it hasn't been a hell of a lot. And another part of this, lastly, is, and Hiram hasn't called me back yet. And that was a good month ago. About kind of shutting up those air exchangers. Your idea. You get 1,000% credit for that. That's an outstanding idea. I've been looking at air filtration systems for that building like crazy.
Home Depot has a variety of those same air purifiers.
I saw one on an infomercial the other day that's a 3-filtered system, and you don't have to replace the filters, you just wash them. Probably a little bit more money, you save down the long run. Lastly, I don't make it last, I'm sorry. Is what really annoys me about that building, I learned in the last 6 to 8 months, that ventilation system should not be running in its condition that you know, and I know, you're the one who takes the filters out. That is a dirty ventilation system. It's awful.
The mildew that's dried in, it's damp in there. Yeah,
You should shut the whole
as
system
soon as
down.
it starts up, it's just blowing that dirty, musty air.
You should just shut the whole thing up,
Yeah.
shut all the vents.
Well, you
Yeah,
work
but
on
Put it in
that.
there and, yeah, put it in the vent. You know the rest of the story.
Okay, very good.
I think I'm done.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna move
You
on.
did on my head.
The town clerk is not here, but there were two loose dogs in town. One, I only had to drive about a half a mile to find the owners, and the other one, the person who found the dog, the owners were walking around looking for it, so
Oh,
that's
man.
fine. Select board chair report, just want to go through my list very quickly. I'll have the local emergency management plan at the next select board meeting. I am attending a workshop on that. I did address with Guy the using the brooklinevt.com domain, which is owned by the town, and with 35 email addresses that could be distributed to the officials in town and committeemen that the town would assign and then we take back when you leave. It would cost approximately $90 a month. However, it is the way that needs to be done legally. You really shouldn't be using Gmail accounts. So that will be coming at the beginning of the next year. And when you look at the money that we're saving on select board positions and cameramen and everything else, we should be able to manage that. It also can come from the municipal building account. Cleanup from the storm stage, we already talked about that. Damage on Allen Ware and Putney Mountain Road is still unknown. FEMA update, you know that we did get back $11,675.14. And that was for work, some of the work that was done back in 2021, which means that everything that's been obligated with FEMA is in the work. So that was such good news. I do have to also make note that we got a letter from the Green Mountain Power. They would like to, Vice President of Operations, Mike Burke, would like to come to Brookline and discuss the recent storm and restoration effects. I know there are some citizens that might like to come to that meeting as well. So is there, could we look at something in May? Because April is pretty messed up for me.
Sounds fine to me.
Not April. So I'm looking like in sometime in May.
Everything's calmed down a little bit.
Okay, so I'll reach out to them.
That's for you to determine, because you.
Green
control
Mountain
the agenda.
Power, it's not a select board meeting. If you can't make it, you don't have to come, but they want to talk to us about, it.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Public meeting is.
yeah,
Okay, let's do
in
that.
May.
So it's storm related.
Storm related, power related.
So it's gonna be a
Have to
Saturday
be
or something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know that, they send a crew through every 5 to 7 years or something to trim the power lines, but while I'm working on the road, there's so much stuff that, woodpecker holes and
They're
broken.
gonna have to be more diligent in that,
Yeah.
and that would be one of the things that we talk about, as well as burying lines.
Years ago, I met with the head foreman for CGPS because I'm on my own line when the wind was up. And they weren't even aware that I was out. I was out for like 3 to 4 days.
Because you're
This
on
was
a truck.
years ago. And I met with this foreman. He came up in the spring. We had a long discussion. And basically, he was responsible. They just started basically like quadrants in southern Vermont and on down. I don't know if GMP does the same, CGPS. And they just keep moving from quadrant to quadrant to quadrant. He was the head foreman. That was.
Okay,
I
I'm
can-
gonna
I
try to
can
move on
shed
just
just
to
a
get rid.
Tad bit of light on that if you'd like. I had, my driveway from the cul-de-sac to my house, there were a number of trees that were touching the wires.
Oh, God.
And it was a matter of what time and when the power was gonna go out. We had contacted, Green Mountain Power several times over the years. And about 3 years ago, actually 4 years ago, they said they were on they had a map. And they were gonna go around all of the southern part of the state in an orderly fashion.
Yeah, that's what.
And he said, we can't tell you when we're gonna be to your house, but eventually we will get there. Last year, they showed up after 3 years,
Hmm.
and they did a good job once they got there, but it took a long time.
Yeah,
Could have been destructive.
there's smoke.
So I'll talk to them and I'll share what
Okay.
information I can through an email.
Okay.
Brookline Meeting House had the reorganization meeting in March. I have to schedule a reorganization for the Round Schoolhouse Committee because we do want to put in the memorial garden for Cynthia Now memory. The Riverside Cemetery Commission reorganization meeting is postponed until this Friday evening. I have to contact the Planning Commission to see if they are going to reorganize. I told you about Green Up Day. We lost dogs, Green Mountain Power. Oh, the opioid settlement letter that we got,
Yeah.
I filled it out.
Thank you. See
Today,
you later.
I sent it in, and if we get some money, that would be fine, but if we don't, we don't. But I did the opioid settlement forms
Very
today.
good. I
Now,
got for it, but you're just.
I am going to ask for something a little fun here.
Uh-oh.
I had mentioned this a while ago. We're all very serious. I want to talk about the town party. I want to remind you, we're having a town party, July 22nd. It's going to be mostly near the Brookline Meeting House. And as we do an outreach for people to help with that, I'm not going to go into tonight because it's going to be late, but we've had a nice long meeting this week. I am going to ask the select board's permission to appropriate some money from the community fund, if it's still there, approximately $500-600, to help to cover the cost of a handicapped porta potty and coolers with ice and water. And if we have chips and hot dogs kind of thing that day. More will come, but I am going to ask if the town would support the idea of the framework of the party. And again, we had some money collected and I don't think I'm looking for a lot because it's, yeah, the music is gonna, the bluegrass music is gonna be in the meeting house, possibly also in the round schoolhouse, some of it outside. The kids, let me see if I can get some people involved to organize some kids game, but just a little barbecue between 12 and 1:30, music between 1:30 and 4:30, and then an ice cream social at the end, which would be ice cream and whipped cream and M&Ms, and then people go home. And I think it's something fun. We have a lot of new residents in town. I just want to get people to come out and have fun and get
I've
out.
been waiting to do this for years.
I've been waiting to do this for years.
This is the precursor.
Yeah. Oh,
So
and I'm
what
gonna
we're
do some
gonna use the
PR.
building
We're
for?
gonna do some little signs and things like that. So.
So I'm saying this is
I
the
need a-
precursor to using the building down the road.
Yes, do some.
And how did this, I haven't done it yet, but how's this, have they got a lot of response from the survey, do you know?
They're gonna, we'll know the next, yes, I don't know the number though.
Okay.
Okay, but if you would indulge me in, I'm thinking $500-600 at this
Oh,
time,
probably.
but I would like to order the toilet and that
Money's
costs
been there for
200.
years, it's never been used, why not?
Okay. All right, thank you very
I'll
much
do that.
for a party. That's good.
In taxes.
All right,
Oh,
very
and I did call Scott over to turn the water on.
Okay, and the hot water, yeah, they'll do that.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna finish
Please
up
don't break it.
communications, regular mail. I'm not sure if I shared this with everybody, but it was a note from, okay, I want to let you know how much I value your service to Brookline. The three of you did such a great job. Thank you so much for your time and talents. Best regards, Sally. Thank
You
you.
know,
So that was a
He's
nice,
done a number of really good responses after that town
we
meeting.
got a lot of compliments.
We really did.
It was nice.
We didn't realize how great we are.
Wonderful.
Well, I think we communicated, we are communicating.
Yes.
Which is good, and that brings up a topic I just want to touch on for 30 seconds. When the meeting house committee has people stationed at the meeting house through the summer, what does the select board think about having 1 or 2 select board members attend each of those meetings to be a sounding board for
Fabulous.
people's input? I mean, I wouldn't mind doing that.
Oh,
It became
I would
apparent to
think
me
so.
that they didn't really know half the stuff we were doing. That's one of the reasons why I sent out that ARPA thing to several of the people. So they'd have an idea that there's more than you know about that we're talking about.
Sure.
And I felt that there's so much more we could have made points on in terms of the actual real need of a heavy equipment item that for reasons that I can't explain, I didn't get
Well, we can
into.
give them great
And
complaints.
so it would serve as an opportunity to talk about those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And hopefully someone would find enough interest in joining the group in terms of putting in,
That
a
effort.
solid effort.
Of work.
And if they can take pride in it, the board can do.
Because I know we work very hard and I don't think people
They
realize.
came through at town meeting. I'll give you an analogy real quickly. When we had the information meeting at the energy committee for the heat pumps and the solar over at Newbrook,
Mm.
there was about 100 people there. And we spent an ungodly amount of time dotting our i's and crossing our t's as to what the objections and what the concerns would be for the community. And there were about 100 people there. And Marie Chatterson, oh my God, we would have been dead without her. Knows her numbers. Oh, she was great.
It's wonderful.
But anyway, all at the end of it, and they were flagging us with a lot of questions and we were answering everything. At the end of it, they opened up and applauded.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how that feels.
Yeah.
100 people, then it went to then you know the rest, and went to the towns where we had the major vote, where it's 300 people. I think it was 299, and we got it approved by 100 votes.
Yeah.
Are we gonna do anything regarding
So I
this
guess-
response? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate the input.
So the point is, if you do your job and you're inclusive and make everybody understand what you're doing, you're gonna get the support.
I mean, there was a reason why I mentioned that, you know, at the town meeting, that I need to get back to people within 24 hours, 48 hours.
Yeah.
Because you can feel neglected, you can feel
Right.
that as a citizen, what you're saying, what you're thinking is not important, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And how else can we refute that idea or let people know that they are valuable? We
Right,
expect
right. We do
ourselves to
listen.
be valuable.
That's-
And how do you do that? But you communicate. You tell them when you agree, that's out, regardless of which of you
That's
said
great.
stuff. I will usually say, thank you, Guy, thank you, Dot. There's a reason for that. Because if you just send something that looks like it went down a rat hole, there's no, you don't get a sense of mutual respect, and that's
Right.
important.
Right, and the more that increases, it'll go back to what I've been wanting to do for 4 years, which is the main reason why I really push to have I know what you're saying.
I mean, if you're busy and you got a lot of other things to do, which I assume you are, I have no problem stepping in and sending a sample of what I would suggest we send. You can just sign off on it, and if you, I can just, that's the point select board.
Okay,
But what you're saying
sure. You have
increases.
plan, thank you.
Well, not that I have, but I
What
will.
you're saying increases participation in the town, and more people come to the town meeting, which is what I was trying to do 4 years ago.
Right.
That's why I changed to nights. I pushed to change to nights, and so that's great to stay with you.
I'm gonna move on now.
I am.
All right.
Thank you, thank you.
We're going to payroll warrants. I'd like to make a motion to approve payroll warrant 2338 dated March 29, 2023 in the amount of $1,680.28. May I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Mello. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving payroll warrant 2338 dated March 29, 2023 in the amount of $1,680.28 signified by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. I will send this around for signatures. Accounts payable. I would like to make a motion to approve accounts payable warrant number 2339 dated April 5th, 2023 in the amount of $5,448.72. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Nova. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving accounts payable 2339 dated April 5th, 2023 for $5,448.72 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Okay,
Thank you.
very quickly. Set agenda for the next meeting, which is April 19th. I will provide the local emergency operations plan adoption. The ARPA annual report is to be submitted. We'll discuss vacancies. We could discuss goals. And if the goals could be in a written format, that would be ideal, summarized in a written format.
Yeah.
We will also review the Act 172 MERG plan and any other items that come before the select board at this time.
Okay.
All right? And if there's nothing else at this time,
You just want.
I want to make a motion that
I
we
second it.
end the meeting. And the meeting is adjourned at 8:59:59.
This meeting was recorded by Falls Area Community Television, located at 1 Hospital Court, Bellows Falls, Vermont. If you would like a copy of the meeting, our phone number is 802-463-1613, or email us at fact810@gmail.com. Falls Area Community TV, keeping government honest.